Welcome back to another week of Instigating with Clarkey and Drury, brought to you as always by Coolbet, our friends at the Listowel Squash Courts and Listowel Vision Care, and our friends over at See the Game. I'm Ryan Drury, that's Clarkey, and we're very excited to talk some hoops with our favorite guy, our friend, the voice of the Raptors and Raptors analyst, Paul Jones. Jonesy, it's been a long time. How are you, my friend? You look fantastic. The set looks great.
I'm great. It's been that long. I think this is the first time you guys have seen the new pictures in the background. And is there something to that title, The Instigators with Clarkey? I just
we like
knowing the way he is.
We like to stir it up on the show. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, really, it just stems from Clarkey gets on my nerves and I have to correct him and tell him how it is, right? Yeah. So that's where it is. Now, I want to dig into the Raptors. Obviously, they've had.
Hey, Ryan, before we start with the Raptors, let's just talk a little bit before we talk with the Raptors. This morning, Team Canada women beat the Americans for a gold medal in hockey. Let's just start there right off the top. Jonesy, did you watch the game and what did you think?
I did. I got home from the Raptors win against Minnesota. And we're not traveling. We're in the studio. So beetled it home from the studio, got to the living room, turned it on, and it was 1-0 Canada. Flipping back and forth. The Lakers were battling Utah, and it's like playing blackjack. Every time you turn around, somebody gets a blackjack. So by the time I flipped back, it was 2-0, and then I went away and came back and flipped back. It was 3-0. I'm like, geez, maybe I shouldn't watch and it'll be 8-0 by the end. But I just thought the Canadian team, and we both know, all three of us know that they were on a mission to avenge what happened in the last one. They felt like that was theirs and it was taken from them. And there's no greater motivation. I thought they did a terrific job.
They really did. It was a tremendous battle. Of course, lots of news that the Nurse family are obviously very proud, as is the rest of the country. Sarah set a new tournament record. She broke the record held by the great Haley Wickenheiser, 18 points in an Olympic tournament. It's just absolutely unreal. They had the great shots of her parents watching at the bar in Burlington. That was so much fun. And obviously, you have experience working with Kia, who's a great ambassador on the NBA and basketball side of things, does a great job on the panel as well. I'm sure that she was thrilled. And it's really cool as well because Sarah's the first Black woman to ever win an Olympic gold medal in women's hockey. And I mean, just that family just continues to break down barriers and do incredible things athletically.
Yeah, it's nice because I've kind of said this before, Ryan, that I like the Winter Olympics, but it wasn't always seen as representative. And now, like you said, we got Sarah Nurse. And who would know that the capital of world speed skating would be Ocala, Florida, from somebody who never was on speed skates picked it up 6 years ago and then wins a gold medal. So, as for the Nurse family, they do it well. They're just, as you said, great ambassadors for not just sports and for the games that they play, but for life, in terms of integrating, breaking down barriers, fitting in, being role models. You can do this too. And I have had the good fortune to work with Kia, and look, she's a product of her environment. So all you have to do is look at what mom and dad did, and the kids will show you, the legacy and how they've been raised. So real happy for the Canadian women, real happy for Sarah Nurse. And, nobody can ever take that from you. You're a champion and nobody can ever take that away.
A champion, a record setter. I would like to think, Clarkey, I'm sure you agree that somewhere Willie O'Ree was watching that and he had a big smile on his face. No doubt about that. Mm-hmm. Let's talk Raptors. Obviously, they've had, I would call it overall, a pretty successful season, given what everybody was saying about this roster at the start of the year. Scotty Barnes has turned out to be a very, very solid player. He looks like he's going to be a guy that can be a rock solid piece of this foundation for the future. Fred VanVleet, his incredible undrafted story continues. going to the All-Star game. Overall, I think the team has played pretty well. They're sitting 7th right now in the Eastern Conference, right now in one of the play-in spots, and they basically had the same record at home and on the road, both 16 wins of the 32, split right down the middle. What's your impression of how they've played overall so far, Jonesy?
I think they've surprised people, Ryan. A lot of people had them, 12, 13, like not doing well in the conference. And I think our media brethren forget that they have 4 guys that had their hands on the trophy in Van Vliet, Siakam, Boucher, and Anunoby. OG didn't play, but he was around. I mean, he was in the car as it was rolling over the finish line. And you just can't downplay that experience. And it took them a while to kind of get their footing, have roles established. Nick Nurse has coached a winner before, so he understands what that is all about. And I think they're coming together now. Look, the guys in Vegas always know something about what's going on, and they had the over-under for the Raptors at 36.5. Well, they're at 32 now. We got 25, 26 games to go. So I think they're going to surpass that. They may surpass expectations, but I'm telling you, the way they are playing now, they are going to be a very, very tough out come playoff time. And you talked about, Ryan, they're in the pit right now in the play-in tournament. Maybe they get out of that. They're fighting with Boston for that 6th spot. They had it before losing a couple in a row. And like I said, it doesn't matter who they play, whether it's in the pit, in the play-in tournament, or a regular 7-game series. And if they get to one of those, they're going to be a tough out. And I don't think anybody wants to play them.
I was just going to ask you, and you sort of answered it there, but like, is the sky the limit right now for these guys? Like, they are on a roll, and if they got on a roll, like, can they? Like, how good is this team right now?
Clarky, I don't think they're afraid of anybody right now. Like, and you look around the East, who would they be afraid of? Like, look at the teams at the top. They've beaten Chicago, 2 out of 3 against Miami. They've swept Milwaukee. So, I mean, I know the regular season is different, and no game in January or February means anything in April or May. But for your confidence and your psyche, man, we got a chip, and we've beaten you this year. And we know what this thing is about, especially guys like Fred and Pascal, who is playing out of his mind right now. So I don't want to go out and say, oh, they can win the championship, but I'm not going to totally dismiss that, Clarky. I'm not going to say that, things come together. Like, it takes a lot of luck and a lot of things aligning, the stars aligning for you to get to that point. I'm not gonna say they don't have the ability to do that, because they are going to be a tough out. And as I said, even if a Miami or a Milwaukee or Chicago, one of those teams sees them in the playoffs, okay, maybe they take the Raptors out, but it's like being in a fight, man. You're going to feel that, and you're going to feel it for the next series too.
And the bottom line is the future's bright, right?
Big time. Yeah. Big time. I mean, can all the GMs that watch the NCAA tournament for 3 weeks, can you sit down now? Remember when they drafted Scotty Barnes, everybody was up in arms, like, how could you pass on Jalen Suggs? And because they'd never heard of Scotty. And what they drafted was a culture guy, a guy who plays in a program that, look, if you get a Marquette kid, he's a grinder. If you get a Louisville kid, he plays with a motor. You get a Carolina kid, he's a skill guy. You get a Florida State kid from Leonard Hamilton, you get a team first culture guy. And that's what Scotty Barnes is. And I'm not throwing shade at Jalen Suggs. He's a heck of a player. But people saw Gonzaga in the tournament and thought, oh, that's who they should draft. Clarky, you remember when in 96, Ryan, I didn't even know, were you born then? Were you alive then?
I was 5 years old. Okay. I was around.
Okay, you were around. Remember when everybody wanted Ed O'Bannon?
Yeah.
Isaiah Thomas?
Eddie.
Yeah, and people were like, what is this? Yeah. Who turned out to be the rookie of the year? Who had a better career per se?
Yeah.
So all the people that wanted Jalen Suggs, and this, again, not to disparage him, Scotty Barnes was the better pick for the Raptors. And he's going to be all rookie team, first team. He's probably number 2 or 3, depending on where you put him now, because of what his team is doing over like a Cade Cunningham or somebody like that. He's right behind Evan Mobley. So I think it was a great pick. And to your point, the future looks bright because of guys like him and the potential of, Achua and some of the young guys that they have on this team.
Yeah, it's been really impressive. Scotty's just a great two-way player. I certainly don't think that maybe he's elite in any one area of the game, but he's just really solid across the board. He does everything well, and the effort level is there every night, which is so impressive from a young guy like that. And you mentioned Siakam. This guy's game was down in the dumps last year. Like, people were saying, should the Raptors get rid of this guy? Yeah. Like, people were giving up on this guy. And he has really bounced back nicely. What are you seeing from his game that's just maybe a little different in terms of approach, how he's getting success? What is it about what he's doing right now that's turned this around?
Ryan, I think the carryover from the bubble, like let's go back a bit. The night when Rudy Gobert shut down the NBA, we were the last team to play the Jazz before Adam Silver pulled the plug. And that night, after we played them and flew home, we got phone calls 2 days later because I wanted to see how Utah played the next game against Oklahoma City after losing to Toronto. And that was the game that shut the NBA down. And we got phone calls, show up at the hospital the next morning to get tested. And that was a different time. We didn't know anything about COVID. The Raptors got back, went into the bubble. Pascal played okay. And then the next year coming out of it, they're in Tampa. Everybody's displaced. He was adjusting to a new role, being the guy. And, people wanted it right away. And it's just taken him some time. And then this year he's coming off the shoulder surgery. All these guys had training camp. He never had that. He got on a moving train. But now that he's got his footing, this is the guy that they expected. And what do you know? The patience, it's taken some time. It's taken him a couple years. So he is going to be one of the focal points of the offense. And as you talked about with Scotty Barnes, he doesn't do anything elite yet, Ryan, because I think as he develops, he's got a little bit of Magic Johnson in him with his passing and his playmaking, being able to play inside with his size. He's got a little bit of Scottie Pippen, as one NBA coach told me, with his defense and his ability to guard every position. So I agree with you, Ryan. Not elite yet, but I mean, this kid he's coming on. So between him and Pascal and Nick Nurse will throw a lineup out there that is Anunoby, Barnes, Siakam, Achua, and Boucher, or Birch, or Banton, and you got five guys out there between 6'8" and 6'9", and how do you guard that? And by the way, they can guard anyone that you have. You can't switch and get an advantage on them. So, but to your point, Ryan, Pascal has definitely become one of the leaders of this team, and he's playing so well and so confidently right now.
He certainly is. And I want to ask you a little bit about the trade deadline, just in terms of the Raptors. We'll start there, but then some NBA storylines in general, because, man, there's a lot going on the hard court.
Yeah.
Let's start with the Raptors. I mean, they make a deal where they acquire Thaddeus Young. Goran Dragic is gone, a guy that really didn't want to be there. And I think they did pretty well. I mean, a pretty tidy return, in my opinion, for a guy that vocally said, I don't really want to be in Toronto. They flip him over to San Antonio, get a pretty good, solid young piece back. What are your opinions on what they did at the deadline?
Well, Thaddeus Young is a veteran. He's been on good teams before, and he's going to help the youngsters. He's going to give the bench some help. The bench, Nick hasn't used them much. I don't know if he hasn't trusted them much, but I mean, he's riding his horses, and people are like, oh, the minutes police are out. Oh, he's going to wear. Hey, man, when you get to the playoffs, your best players play. And right now, this is kind of prep for that, where these guys are learning to play together. Raptors number 2 in the NBA in most games, 3 points or less with a minute to go, either be ahead or behind. 4th most wins with 12. So they're learning how to play in close games, because that's where you make your money in the playoffs. And a guy like Thad Young is going to help out in that area, no question about it. And I just think it speaks to the front office, Masai Ujiri, Bobby Webster, Dan Tolzman, doing their homework and finding a guy who will help them out.
I was just going to mention the front office, and it just seems like there's that stability That is an amazing thing when you have that stability at the top with Masai and Bobby and Nick Nurse. And it just, to me, it just oozes confidence. And I think that really goes right down to the team.
Clarky, we have this word that in sports that we have sometimes have a hard time defining, right? A culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you think about it, like, and I've thought about this a long time and come up with this. What is culture? Like the Yankees have a culture, right? The Red Sox have a culture. Like you think of the great teams of the Leafs had a culture back in the 60s. It was, and what is that? And to me, that's a way of doing things with positive expectations attached. Mm-hmm. And to your point, Clarky, about Masai, Bobby, Nick, they've established a culture. Mm-hmm. This is how we do things, and this is what we expect. And they look for the right guys and bring them in. And man, these guys play together. They play for one another. And that's the stability. I mean, it doesn't matter where they're drafting. I mean, anybody, any fool can pick a top five. I mean, it's right there for you. But when you find and guys that they've turned, they draft them, develop them, and then turn them into assets that other people want. When you find DeLon Wright at 20, Pascal Siakam at 27, Norm Powell traded as a second-round pick. They traded for him. They turned these guys into assets. Yeah, Jakob Poeltl was an 8th pick, but they turned him into, helped turn him into Kawhi Leonard with DeMar DeRozan. So it just happens. Gary Trent Jr. Nobody saw him doing because he didn't do this in Portland, but look at what he's doing now. Mm-hmm. Fred VanVleet, undrafted. I saw the guy at Summer League. I'm like, man, he had a good college career. Wonder why nobody picked him up. Well, everybody had a chance at him, and look what he's doing now. He's an all-star. So the stability at the top, Chris, is important, and I think it's showing through if you're the Raptors.
It certainly is. I wish some other sports franchises maybe take note of what they're doing, because they quite clearly have established something very positive there, and ownership's behind it, and they kind of stay out of their way. And, Masai and Bobby and that group there, they've earned that. Let's talk about some other cultures around the league that are not really falling into that category. And I want to start with James Harden, the culture of James Harden. What is the deal with this guy, Jonesy? Because in Houston, he establishes himself as this unbelievable offensive force, a guy that can kind of do everything himself. He can literally take a game over. He bounced around. Now he's in Brooklyn, doesn't like it. I want to leave. He ends up in Philly, where allegedly he wanted to be the whole time. But also, you see this guy play or barely play, and the effort level there. And I'm starting to get Pablo Sandoval vibes with this guy. He looks like he's eating himself out of the league. Too many wings. What is this guy doing? What is the deal with James Harden?
I would hope that for him, this is a stop, because Daryl Morey wanted him. Daryl Morey believes in him. And I would hope that would jumpstart him to get into shape. He may not be able to come back to that slim fit guy that we know, Ryan. This might be the new James Harden and the way he plays. And if he can make threes, distribute the ball, and play alongside Joel Embiid, they probably don't care what he looks like. But maybe he won't talk his way out of this team or kind of put a dent in what's going on with the team, because he did that in Houston. He did it in Brooklyn. And hopefully for Philadelphia, he's not going to do that there. But it makes them better. It makes them better. I'm excited to see what happens when Brooklyn plays Philadelphia. What it's like when Ben Simmons goes back to Philadelphia, what all of this is going to be like when the two teams meet one another. But as to James Harden, I mean, he's just got to get healthy right now, and get out there and play for the Philadelphia 76ers.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. And yeah, you're right. Ben Simmons, that'll be an interesting storyline. We're talking about a guy that definitely wasn't popular on his exit from the city. And when he returns there, I mean, we're talking about a fan base that threw batteries at Santa Claus. So I don't know what Ben can expect. Let's talk quickly. I got two more situations I want to throw your way. Zion Williamson, same deal.
Yeah.
What is up with this kid? Like, unbelievable. Like, probably the most hyped prospect that I heard about since LeBron. Like, this guy came in with sky high expectations, and it just is not falling into place.
He's injured. And, you know, Sam Mitchell used to have a phrase, you can't make the club sitting in the tub. and that's unfortunately for Zion Williamson. He's been injured, and you know the Raptors had the Pelicans last Monday, and I was talking to some of their people down there who said, you know, that Zion and Jonas Valanciunas have never been on the court together, not even a practice. And he is a great talent, but he's got to stay healthy. And you look at the guys drafted behind him and how they're excelling. Ja Morant, Canadian RJ Barrett, like some of these guys they're healthy and they're out there doing their best to help their clubs. And unfortunately for Zion, he's hurt. And that's the shame about it, Ryan, that he can't get out there and play, because I think the kid's a heck of a talent. He can be a game changing. He's special in that sense, but he can't do it from the bench, and he's got to get healthy and get back into the lineup. I don't know if we see him play this year.
Yeah, it is a shame. You're right. I really hope things turn around for him, and they need it to down there. That's for sure. Final one before I toss over to Clarkie here. What the hell is wrong with the LA Lakers? Like they come off, they win a title. Everybody loves LeBron. Russ comes over. I mean, Anthony Davis does not he looks like a shadow of himself right now. What the hell is wrong with the LA Lakers?
Well, that's part of it. Anthony Davis I always said this. I mean, he stayed healthy during their championship run in the bubble. And by the way, LeBron, it was not the hardest championship ever. It was probably, in my eyes, easier because you went to the same gym every day. There was no crowd. There was no media. It was, I mean, you got the title, but don't try to make it out like it was that difficult. And in that title run, Anthony Davis was healthy. I mean, he's a guy that sometimes leads the league in MRIs because he, again, like Zion in that sense, he breaks down. And when he's healthy, he's a heck of a talent. And then I think the Lakers were guilty of trying to, and we all do it. I mean, if Tiger Woods can win 4 straight majors and say, no, I got to change my swing and fix it. And when you say, what are you doing? The Lakers were guilty of trying to make the car better than it was. They won a championship. They had a tough time last year in the play-in, but instead of getting role players to support LeBron and make the car more efficient by getting better tires and you know, like getting better headlights, you know, they went for a nice interior. And they picked up Russell Westbrook when they let go of people like Caruso, you know, Kuzma, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. They could have picked up Buddy Hield. They said no. Like I think they outsmarted themselves. And now Frank Vogel, they're trying to pin the blame on Frank Vogel, which he doesn't rebound. He's not turning the ball over. He's not the one that's not playing defense. So the Lakers, to me, Ryan, right now, and I'll say this, the qualifier, they're still very dangerous, but right now they don't fit. And until they're able to figure out roles and guys are willing to make some sacrifices, they're going to continue to struggle. Although they had a big win the night before the break against Utah.
Yeah, it's certainly confusing there. Clarkie, go ahead.
Jonesy, we often ask guys due to COVID how their lives have changed, and I just want to get into talk about you and Eric Smith, who you know, your broadcast partner, and how things are different. You told me earlier you don't travel anymore. Are you going to the Scotiabank Arena? Do you get to go there to do the games? What's happening, and where are you calling the games from?
Last year was an unmitigated disaster, Clarkie. We were the kid that was, because the team was in Tampa, we couldn't travel across the border. Right. It was like being outside the stadium and hearing all the fun going on in the stadium and trying to look through a knothole. because we did every game from the studio. Actually, the studio was a makeshift studio. They had they took the Raptors practice court. They put the TV set at one end for pre, post, and halftime. At the other end, they had the TV game set with Matt and Jack, or Matt and Leo. And then they took the weight room, the configuration of that building. They took the weight room, the workout room, and made it the radio studio. So we were all separated, socially distanced, physically distanced. And we did 72 games that way. It was tough. And then this year started, and we get to go to the arena for the games, for the home games, but the road games we still do in a studio. Right. Whether it be at 1050 Studios or the Fan Studios. So we don't establish that relationship with the players. I mean, guys walk by us in the bowels of Scotiabank Arena where they would normally say, "Hey, what's going on?" Because we see them on the plane or a hotel lobby in Atlanta or Detroit or Chicago. They don't know us, and that part of it is hard. And I don't have to tell you guys how hard it is to call a game off a monitor, because you watch different things. When you're watching the game, you're watching stuff off the ball, you're watching stuff behind the ball. A guy goes down with an injury and you look this way while the play is going that way to just give a brief description and then catch up to the play. Well, when the camera cuts away, you don't know what's going on with that guy. So that part of it from a broadcast sense, Clarky, is really, really difficult. I'm hoping we can kind of get back to normal a little bit and get back out on the road, but
I hope so too.
It's had a huge impact.
I just hope the people making the decisions don't say, "Hey," you don't have to comment on this because you were talking about your bosses, but they better not think this has been fine. That's what I'm going to say, because it's not like watching the Olympics. It's been a disaster. Like Mike Johnson and Chris Cuthbert are talking. I think they've pulled the goalie, but they have no idea, and it's just awful. So hopefully the world gets back to normal. And Eric, I was speaking with Eric a little while ago, and he says Jonesy goes everywhere with his ring, and it's probably handy. And he wears it to bed, and he wears it on the plane. And there it is. If you're watching on YouTube and Whiteman right now,
let's get a look.
There's the box. There's the ring right there. Look at that. Isn't that nice?
I told Eric, he got a ring too. I said, mine sits in a night table drawer, and there it is. I'll pull it up like this so you can kind of see it like that. Mine sits in my night table drawer, and it's not till family members say,
the ring.
It's not till family members say, why don't you take it out and wear it? I said, because it's like wearing a hood ornament.
Yeah.
It is huge, eh?
Yeah, look at that thing.
It's like wearing a hood ornament. But I do take it out to go to parties and special occasions because people want to see it. Absolutely. And I pass it around and they take pictures with it. And it's kind of cool to have one. And I said to Eric, I wouldn't say I travel with it, but I know that the day he had his day with the trophy, the 24 hours I had with the trophy, I tried to make sure that as many people that I knew on my basketball journey, dating all the way back to high school, university, people I coached, people that asked about the team that were part of my life, my accountant, my former university coach, my buddies at the golf course. Like, I tried to get the trophy where they would get a picture with it. So in 24 hours, I had it at 5 golf courses, and it was just called, "Hey, I'm going to be at Angus Glen from 10:30 to 11:30 with it." And guys would show up and girls would show up with their Raptor jerseys, and it was sitting on a table, and they take a picture. And then, I trotted it up to Grandview when I was speaking for Club Link, and I put it out there, and everybody took a picture with it. And then the next morning I had it at Wooden Sticks, and I said, "Guys, it'll be at Wooden Sticks from 7:30 to 9:30. And then, well, where's it going after that? I can't make it. I'll be at King Valley at 2:00, Nice. And I tried to have everybody who was on my basketball journey with me get a picture with it. And if you check my social media, there's actually a picture of the trophy beside the chair that sits just behind me, where my dad, I'm at my mother's place now, where my dad used to watch the games. He saw the trophy, or he saw the championship, he saw the parade, and he passed away 10 days after the parade. So he never got to hold the trophy, although my mom had it sitting on her walker. We had it at the house for a little while, and family had pictures with it. And we put the trophy beside the old man's chair where you used to watch the game. So
nice.
It's like the comet, Ryan, Chris. You don't know when it's going to come by again, right? So
yeah.
You take a look at it, you drink it all up, because we know that a lot of luck, a lot of good fortune, a lot of things have to align for it to happen.
Yes, I've been waiting for a long time for another Toronto team to win. You don't have to tell me that.
1967, I was in grade school, Clarky. I don't know where you were.
I was 1. So I was around.
I was in grade school.
I don't remember it, though.
Unreal. Yeah. Well, I'm not surprised to hear any of that, because Jonesy, you're one of the best guys in the NBA. I don't think anybody has a bad word to say about you. So maybe when we can get together, when this whole thing is over, maybe the ring will be present, and then we can get a look at what a real championship ring looks like up close. Jonesy, you're the best. You're our guy when we want to talk hoops. We're so glad that you're doing well. Hopefully they can get you guys back out on the road at some point soon, maybe next season. But man, thank you so much for your time. We know you're a super busy guy. We appreciate it, my friend.
My pleasure to be on with you guys. Keep up the great work. And I'm always at the end of the phone line or text line. You guys know that.
Absolutely, buddy. We appreciate it. All right, we'll take a quick break here on Instigating. When we come back, Shawn Cottrill of Team Cottrill will join us to talk about curling in the Olympics and some of the ups and downs of the Canadian players over there in Beijing. Coming up next here on Instigating. Welcome back to Instigating with Clarky and Drury, brought to you as always by Coolbet, our friends at the Listowel Squash Courts, and our friends over at Listowel Vision Care and See the Game. I'm Ryan Drury. That is Clarky. We appreciate our friend, voice of the Raptors, Paul Jones, for joining us in the first part of the show. Now it's time to talk about some Olympic curling with our friend Shawn Cottrill of Team Cottrill, one of the best mixed doubles curling duos in the country, in the world. And here is Shawn with us. Mr. Cottrill, how are you?
Good. How are you guys?
We're doing well, man. I guess a little better than the Canadian curlers at the Olympics. Now, Brad Gushue is going to play for a bronze medal. Unfortunately, Team Jones out on the women's side. She had a really tough start, and we'll get to that. But just overall on Brad Gushue's side of the rink, what's been your impression of how that's gone for him? They'll play the Americans tomorrow. We're recording this on Thursday, the 17th. Just your impressions of how his tournament's gone so far.
Yeah, I think for the most part, they've been pretty solid. Haven't caught all their games just with some of the time issues, but I think they've played well. I'm just not sure they've maybe been quite as sharp as they sometimes are, but it's such a tough field, and like the added pressure and all that stuff that comes with the Olympics. I think they've performed pretty well given all those extra things going on in people's heads. But I'm sure disappointed with the way that last game ended, the semifinal game. But it's just we're not miles ahead of the world like we were 20 years ago when curling became an Olympic sport, or 25 years ago.
You know, I did see the game. I didn't see the game against Sweden because of, as you said, the timing, but I did watch the game against Great Britain, and they seemed to be doing a lot of bickering amongst the team in that game. They weren't happy. Brad was talking under his breath. And of course, with the microphones nowadays, everyone can hear everything they're saying. And I thought this team just isn't in tune with each other. Have you ever come across that where you really need to get the team back on the same page? And what did you think of all that?
No, Katie and I are always perfectly on the same page. That never happened.
I didn't want to mention that, but
it's never happened once. Like, we are always completely 100% on the same page about everything.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Good. Let's just say maybe you weren't.
She might not be on the same page on that topic, but
yeah.
No, honestly, like I think from an outsider looking in with a little bit of background knowledge, obviously, I think it was almost the same issue with John and Rachel. It just seemed like communication wasn't there. And I don't think it's a communication issue with the team. I think it's just fired up that extra level and so much pressure on them and expecting perfection and not able to leave the miss behind you. It's just a totally different experience for these teams. I think two of Gushu's team, it's their first time there. For the other two, it's been 15 years since they were there. I think it comes across worse maybe than it is. But
that's a good point.
Yeah, I think it's just the added pressure on everybody. And
yeah. The pressure is definitely there, right? Because Canada doesn't go to the Olympics in curling to get a participation trophy or bronze or whatever. We go to win gold. Right. And
for sure.
The pressure has got to be amazing. And Rachel Holman has come out saying she's in a really deep black hole right now. And I feel bad for her. She tried her best. And the last shot sucked. It was, I didn't mean she sucked, but it was just, you could just see the intensity that they were playing under. And it's too bad that last shot that they made, just went a little too far. And you're talking a millimeter on that measure?
Exactly. Yeah.
It was crazy.
And I've said to a few people, I kind of felt like that last shot was just a perfect summary of how their whole week went. It was, she threw it and John panicked and then she panicked and then they didn't communicate about it. And they were both trying to judge weight. Nobody was calling line. And it was just the whole week summed up in one shot. And it was a terrible way for it to end, but it was almost that's kind of how the whole week went for you guys. That's how I felt about that shot. It was just and I think in the mixed doubles, particularly because that team was handpicked to go, it was even another added level of pressure.
Yeah.
They didn't win to go. They Curling Canada sat down and took forever to decide who it was going to be. And they decided out of all of the teams in the country, that was the team that had the best chance of winning a gold medal. And then they didn't. And then they didn't win a medal at all. And I can't imagine that added pressure of being handpicked.
Right.
Yeah, that's an added level of intensity and just across the board. I'm sure that all of them, we've heard a lot of stories just about the frustration of the way things are set up in Beijing. Obviously, it's a very tough time. It's not like a regular Olympics. You can't really experience what it's like being an Olympian. Everybody's kind of shuttered in their hotel room and, you're left with a lot of time to think about stuff. And I'm sure that added to it. So we know Brad Gushu, as we record this, is going to compete for bronze. There's not going to be a medal in mixed doubles the first time at the Olympics. And there's not going to be a medal for the women's team either. Jennifer Jones, I thought she battled back valiantly because, you fall to 1-3 and you're in a lot of trouble. It's not looking good. She really fought back and had a solid game last night on Wednesday, but she needed a bit of help and didn't get it. Overall, what did you think of how that went for her crew over there? Because I watched quite a few of their games. I watched last night. I stayed up till 3:30 or whatever it was. And I just felt like the kill shot was missing. They would get themselves set up in so many situations to have good steals of 1, 2, sometimes 3 in the fifth end there. They could have got 4. They only took 3. And that really was the story of her and her team's tournament for me, leaving a lot of points on the table.
Yeah. And I would say it almost appeared as though they were getting up for the big games, but then maybe not so much for the games that on paper you should be doing better in, right? Come out big against Great Britain and the States and some of the teams that, and then lose to the Japans. And not that they're bad teams, but those are games that you think are the ones you should be performing in. And honestly, it came down to tiebreaker on draw to the button for Hammer at the start of the game.
What do you think of that? To me, that I don't. It just seems ridiculous to me. But you got to hit the shot, I guess. Yeah,
it's become such a huge part. joke or the feeling on the tour, and it's huge in mixed doubles. Like it's it's like another game. Like winning, being the best on your draw to the buttons is almost as good as another win. So teams are like practicing their pregame draw to the button. There was a time we'd go out for our practice before a game. It's whatever, a 5-minute practice, and you'd be practicing all the shots and trying to figure out the rocks and trying to figure out what every spot in the ice does. Now we go out and we throw nothing but the draw to the button.
Right.
Because this is a perfect example. It cost them a spot in the playoffs at the Olympic because their draw to the button was terrible.
Yeah. Makes no
sense. I'm not sure.
I mean, I get it. I get it. But and from what I gather, she was like dead last. Is that right? Like she was not close.
Up until the last 2 draws, I don't think she had a hammer in a game. So I didn't see the actual numbers, but she lost.
No, I just meant in that draw to the button.
But that's what I like. If she didn't have hammer, she lost the draw to the button before each of those first 7 games, right?
So okay.
I'm assuming she was near the bottom.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe in 2026 they can send you and Katie to go and not handpick the team. I don't know. I would love to see that. Obviously,
I would love it too.
Of course, that would be fantastic. You can bring us along. We'll live call your game.
I've been working on my game too, Drury. Just so you know.
Yeah. So we're gonna let the professionals handle this. What are you?
We have a challenge
that you can fix
we have
my
a
car.
Challenge.
Like
I think we have a challenge, don't we, Sean? Didn't we want to get a challenge with Drury going?
I think we should. Yeah.
We can absolutely still do that. But if we, for some reason, like you once miraculously did, when I think Sean and Katie were probably sick or something,
what are you
beat
talking
them
about?
in a game?
Oh, yes, right. Sorry, I totally forgot about that.
That doesn't mean. Oh, you forgot. That doesn't mean that I should go to.
No.
Okay?
I'm not bringing you to the Olympics.
We're not sending you. You're not going. Period.
Hold on. When is the Wingham Club open until?
They're actually leaving the ice in till the end of April.
Oh, plenty of time.
Then when I get back from the Dominican, we're coming.
Yeah, no practicing while you're down there.
No, I won't practice when we're down there. Don't worry. Okay. But let's set that up, okay? Sean, I'm going to leave that for you to set up, and Ryan and I will be there, and maybe producer Adam can come with a camera and shoot some stuff.
Perfect.
I'm into it. Clarky, as you know, we're going to have to work around my hockey schedule.
That's fine. We'll work around it.
Well, we'll work around the schedule. All right, we'll do that. Yeah. I want to ask you as well, Sean. This might be a little bit of an extreme statement, but you mentioned how Canada is not light years ahead of everybody else like we were 20, 25 years ago. And you see the performance at this Olympics, and I know it's very different, and the pressure and just the aggravation, I'll call it, of the situation that the world of sport is in with Beijing and everything. We saw this in 98 with hockey, and they had to have like a summit. Hockey Canada had a summit. Do you think something is required like that with Curling Canada? Because, this is, Clarky, you said it. We do not send curling teams to any competition to come second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever. We go to be first, and we're not first by a mile. So is that something that you would entertain?
Well, it's 2 Olympics in a row now, right?
That's right.
Neither the men or the women won a medal in 2018. We did win a medal in mixed doubles, 1 gold in mixed doubles, but now we're a best case scenario right now in the men's and women's game. We have 1 bronze medal to show for 2 Olympics, and that's a problem. I think there is going to have to be some serious, at least review of the process. I think they need some serious change to the process, but Canada is so unique in the sport of curling that we have so many elite level players, right? Like that's the difference. But the problem is you have a country like Sweden that puts all the resources behind 1 team.
Yeah.
We have Canada that puts the resources behind 10 teams. And it's great that we have the depth, but it's not allowing that 1 team to step up to compete against the Swedens and the Great Britons of the world that are full-time curlers and getting all the resources from their associations.
What do you think of a super team? Like not Team Gushu, but like the best lead, the best second, the best vice, like doing that for the Olympics.
Yeah, I guess you could argue that that's what some of these other countries are doing. We saw that, I think, in mixed doubles, that there was lack of team cohesiveness there, for lack of a better term. And I would be nervous about just picking the 4 best players and sticking them together and sending them. But
but when you don't medal for the last 2 Olympics, I think something's got to be reviewed. That's all I'm saying. Right.
To me, the biggest problem with our system is having our Olympic trials too close to the Olympics. So you look at somebody like Brad Gushu, who has to peak in the second week of December to arguably win the most difficult event in the world. You could say winning the Canadian Olympic trials is maybe more difficult than winning a world championship.
For Brad, but
what's that?
It wasn't for Brad.
No,
but I see what you're saying.
Is generally so hard, right? So you're focusing and getting ready to peak to win that trials event.
Yeah.
And then you have to peak again in 8 weeks.
Right. Yeah.
What athlete in any sport can peak, kind of the lull after, and then peak again 8 weeks later? Like you're usually building your season in most sports to peak at the right time for one specific goal, right? Not to do it twice.
When I look and I think about all the other sports and I think of, is the best lead that Canada can produce playing in the Olympics? And when I look at other sports, is the best goalies playing? Of course they are. You know what I mean? Like, I just think they have to at least look at it. And I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they put a team like that together. But I think they got to look at it, because I think if the best 4 players in Canada in their positions were there, the result would have been different.
Yeah, it's quite possible.
It's a sound argument.
Maybe I should run the summit.
Well,
maybe.
You have a lot of grand ideas about your future in curling, Clarky. We're gonna have to have a chat after this. Put the brakes on it. Hey, dream big, I guess they say. I want to ask you really quickly as well, Shawn. The tankard, the men's tankard that was held very successfully in Port Elgin, and thank God that was able to go forward. Was recently completed. Obviously, Glenn Howard beating our fellow Coolbet sponsoree, if you will, John Epping, in the final of that. I had a friend attend the tournament and said it was really, really awesome to see. Just your thoughts on that. And obviously Glenn Howard is going on to the Briar. So a pretty
Did Glenn get hurt again though? I heard Glenn was hurt again.
Glenn didn't play a game.
That's right.
Scott skipped the whole week. So, pretty impressive actually for, Scott's, he has skipped a little bit in the last few years with some of Glenn's injuries, but then they brought in Adam Spencer to play vice for them. A good friend of ours, Katie, and I actually played mixed with Adam and his wife for a year. And he won the Ontario Club Championship this year, probably hasn't played anything else competitively at least since before COVID, and probably for a while before that. Pretty impressive actually for them to step up and win it. Didn't see a ton of it. Watched the final game. Kind of a boring final game actually for the first half, but I'm excited. I'm really hoping that Glenn's able to play at the Briar. I've always been a huge fan of Glenn. I think he's one of the real true good guys in the sport. And you have to think he doesn't have a lot more years left in it. So I would love to see him at least be able to play a little bit at the Briar.
I think everybody feels the same way. Yeah, I've never heard a bad word about him, and he's produced a lot of great results and a lot of great entertainment for Canadian curling fans. And best of luck to him, and congrats on winning the tankard. And
for sure,
our buddy App, we were hoping for something better for him, but obviously, you can't win them all. But Shawn, we really appreciate your insight. You're our go-to guy when it comes to curling. So yeah, let's set this up. We'll get this curling date going, and so Clarky can stop bothering me about it.
Not only that, you have a squash challenge too, so you better get going, Ryan. Like we have a squash challenge out, and now we have a curling challenge out. So
I don't know what people are challenging me for. Like I'm like an athlete.
We're just challenging you to get out there and get physical.
Yeah. I'm a busy guy, you know. I'm a really busy guy. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll figure out a day. Sean will figure it out. He's got a connection.
You've probably curled this year about as much as I have. So
sure. Yeah. That makes sense.
I can tell you we both curled the same amount. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, Sean and Katie haven't been on the ice a whole lot either. So it's been a tough year.
We will change that in a couple weeks, I think.
Perfect. We actually have a big event in Wingham this weekend that we're super excited about. So
what is it?
Our Ontario Mixed Doubles Tour Championship in Wingham this year. So
amazing.
Provincials are canceled, nationals are canceled, but we get to play our tour championship. So we're excited about that.
Folks, are people allowed to come watch?
Yeah.
Oh, people viewing this on Whiteman.
When is it? Tell us about it.
Starts tomorrow
Friday
evening and all day through Saturday and Sunday. So
unbelievable. Okay. Plenty of time for people to see.
Are you playing?
Hear this?
We are.
Okay. When are your games?
We play at 4 tomorrow and then at 11 and 4:30 on Saturday.
So 4 on Friday?
Yeah. And then 11 and 4 on Saturday.
Well, good luck.
Yeah, thanks.
Absolutely, my friend. Yes, best of luck to you. Thanks for doing this again, and we really appreciate it, man.
Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, everybody, that is it for Instigating this week. You can find us on YouTube Friday nights when we debut there. But remember, we are on Whiteman. That is Channel 6, debuting every Friday night at 8, Sunday nights at 9. We're on all the best podcast apps, including Apple and Spotify. You can follow us on social media at Instigating Pod, and we are brought to you, as always, by our friends at Coolbet, the Listowel Squash Courts, and Listowel Vision Care and See the Game. I'm Drury. That's Clarky. This has been another great week of Instigating with Clarky and Drury. We'll see you next week.